Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 226. You know what we're going to be doing, having a look at the market, how it developed this week, what kind of opportunities we had, and most importantly, what we can expect for the upcoming week. Now, here we are with another choppy week. January, it had some very nice moves, but it has been overall slow. And of course, if you go to have a look at the Januaries overall in the past years, you usually see that it is very slow. But this is the last trading week of January. In fact, this week we are entering February and we're also going to have a lot of news. So NFP, FOMC, and CPIs for some currencies. So this week is going to be very key to allow to pass. And then, of course, we have a whole new, brand new trading month ahead of us, which we're going to definitely capitalize on. So without further ado, let's jump into the analysis and see what do we have for the week ahead. All right, let us start with a little bit of a news outlook, see what we actually have for next week, which could potentially help us to frame our trading week, to frame our trading days. But also another important thing that you can also conclude by looking at the news is whether you actually want to trade next week. So Monday, we have no news. I am not going to be on the charts on Monday at all. I'm actually going to be traveling to Italy. And then, of course, we have Tuesday, which starts with some Aussie, Euro. We have some USD news, right? So Tuesday does look like a very good day to potentially trade Euro USD, to potentially trade some Aussie USD pairs, or even Euro Aussie, for example, if you want to trade some crosses. Then, however, it's not a very high probability to be trading the Aussie on Tuesday because on Wednesday you have CPI for the Aussie. So again, you know that Tuesday could be a little bit slow, could be a little bit setting up for potentially for Tuesday, when that CPI is going to come out, and then potentially you can look to trade the Aussie. Euro news, USD news, GDP for cats. But the most important thing this week, well, not the most important thing, in fact, is we have FOMC. So again, on Wednesday, you do not want to trade USD pairs all the way until this news release, which is all the way until 9 p.m. for me, which is pretty much even after, like it's definitely after London close, probably around towards New York close as well. So again, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, very low probability days until that news event comes out, because you know when there are important news like this, the market tends to chop around. Then the news release comes out, and then I do believe on Thursday we could potentially be looking for some moves, because again we have Euro news right there, but we also have Bank of England monetary policy statement and everything that goes with it. So as you know, the pound has been absolutely stuck in a very ugly consolidation. So I really do hope this Thursday is actually going to help the pound exit the ugly range, paired with unemployment claims for US, manufacturing PMI. So a lot of news. But on this day, on Thursday, I do believe we could look for like Euro USD or some USD pairs apart from the pound, because the pound is going to chop around in London. Then New York is going to be crazy. What I really do like about this week is that we're having all of these big news. So pretty much FOMC and NFP. And we also have Bank of England monetary policy statement. Last week we had the Euro monetary policy statement. So again, NFP on Friday. And you know, NFP weeks are usually pretty choppy. They're not the cleanest. Of course, sometimes they're good, but oftentimes they're not. And also if you pair that NFP with, for example, FOMC, it really depends on how the FOMC plays out. Because if this is actually the volatile news event, a lot of times you're also going to see NFP not really do much, because the momentum, the volatility, the manipulation is already done. And then NFP is like a very small candle. So again, watch out for all of these news. But if you are trading USD pairs, I would say skip this week. This week is much better to maybe trade the Aussie after the CPI. Maybe JPY, because we don't have a lot of JPY news, so they're going to be a little bit more stable. But trading Euro USD, trading GBP USD, trading USD pairs, it's not going to be very nice, because we have pretty much NFP, we have FOMC, and we also have, for example, the monetary policy from the pound. So again, my first tip for this weekly outlook is wait for those news to pass, and then we're going to have a whole trading month of February in which the market is potentially going to get clear, and that is when we're going to be capitalizing. So with that being said, let's jump into the analysis. All right, as always, starting with a dollar, keeping in mind on Wednesday we have the FOMC, Federal Funds Rate. Of course, that is the interest rate for the US. And then, of course, on Friday we have NFP. I do not expect this week to do much, or I would expect this week to potentially set up for a whole new trading month ahead of us. And I'm gonna look at the monthly time frame. We have this monthly imbalance that the market is currently looking like it wants to gravitate towards. Because if the market was going to flush, it should have flushed by now. But we can see this overall January, it's an overall bullish month. And if you ask the question, where is it potentially going? I do believe it's going towards that monthly imbalance right there to potentially tap in and then get repelled towards the downside. So that is my overall bias. Then of course we drop to the weekly time frame, and you see like the first week of January was good, second week absolutely chopped. Then of course we had this third week, nice push up, and right now this week is, again, I cannot extract much. It keeps rejecting from this area right there. It doesn't clearly move up. It doesn't really show me any bearish signs. So on the weekly time frame, we still have this imbalance to potentially suggest that order flow is currently bullish, because if you form like an imbalance like this in the opposite direction, I do believe that order flow is actually changing. And then of course we can see the overall change on the daily time frame. However, we had this very big choppy period right here. The market finally did push up, and we had this overall daily imbalance. And you can see the market already took out that daily high, rejected, then came in back again, then came in back up again, and it's currently chopping around. So again, looking at this daily price action right here, I do not want to even go down to the forward time frame, because if the daily is a consolidation like this, what is very likely going to happen on the forward time frame is you're going to get very chopped up conditions. And in fact, you could potentially trade this, but just acknowledge that we're sitting in this range, took out the high, took out the low, took out the high, back inside the consolidation. Of course, we could look at things. So for example, here, the market broke out that daily high, but it wicked it on the daily, creating imbalances in the opposite side. So around that time, I potentially knew that we're going to seek this low. Then after this low was taken, it also rejected below it. It didn't really nicely close below it. Of course, we had this imbalance right there to act as potential resistance. The market broke above it, creating a bullish one right there. So at that time, I knew that the market could potentially push up. Then it pushes up, and right now it pushes down. So right now I could potentially tell you, well, there is a fully bearish imbalance right there, and structure in fact has shifted bearish right here. But this is definitely something that I don't want to consider at all, keeping in mind where the market could potentially be going towards that monthly zone, and keeping in mind all the news we're having. So what the market is doing right now, it is accumulating. As I like to say, it is cooking for something. And if the market is cooking for something, you look at the economic calendar and you see that in a couple of days, we're going to have big news. FOMC, federal funds rate, NFP, paired with a lot of other USD news like unemployment claims and other stuff, right? So be patient, guys. Be patient, because right now it's kind of not really worth it to be trying to forecast where the market could go, because we absolutely don't know what it's going to do during those big news events. I am just going to stick on the daily time frame, and as I have been saying for quite some time, I just want to see clear the daily time frame to start getting trending clear. This here is not trending, so guess what? I don't care. I'm very conservative and I'm very patient. So that is the DXY. And if the DXY is choppy like this, you know what we're going to be expecting going forward: choppy USD pairs. Euro USD, quick glance at the monthly. Again, we're having an overall bearish month right now. We have this bullish monthly imbalance to potentially suggest that buyers are in control. And we're currently potentially pulling back towards it, but it really depends on what the Dixie is also going to do. Dropping onto the weekly time frame, here we had a very tiny little weekly imbalance to potentially suggest that we could go down. And we have been in fact going down, taking out the previous weekly lows and kind of rejecting below them. You can see this weekly low got rejected. Then of course we have the next weekly low, it gets rejected. So there is no power. There is no power in this move down, which also is good because it suggests an overall push and a corrective pullback so that we can eventually go higher, which is my higher time frame bias in terms of the monthly time frame. And then of course we drop on the daily time frame, and yeah, you know what I'm gonna say, it is absolutely choppy. We have this daily breakout structure paired with this daily imbalance. We came in, I took a short here on Thursday on the 18th of January, which is my second win for this month. And yeah, then it just came in, came down, took out the target, came back up, came down, took out the low, and right now it is just chopping around. So again, this is no longer relevant. We do not have anything new to work with on the daily, and it's just a chop. It is just a very big consolidation. And once again, similar to what I showed you on the Dixie, you can go in. This was a daily sweep. You can look to trade it in the opposite direction. There is a short, potentially good. Then it comes in to sweep the low. Right there, you can potentially on Friday, for example, you could look for a potential reversal. There was a nice trade, but it developed during Asia. It was from here because as we saw this push up, then the market pulled back. It failed to push higher, and then it massively ran lower. And at that time, I knew that this low is going to get taken. But unfortunately, kind of the setup developed a little bit early. If you actually have a look at this move down, right, it happened just actually 8 o'clock. I mean, not bad, definitely not bad. But I wasn't pretty much on the charts at that time. And then during this time, actually in Frankfurt Open, this is not even Frankfurt Open, by the way. Frankfurt Open for me is 9 o'clock, right there. So at that time, we took out that low. So pretty much that short is invalidated. And then we started trending higher, taking out that previous daily low, Asian low. So that was also good long if you can capitalize it, but nothing that I'm very interested in because, as I keep saying, for me, this year is all about high probability trades because I've lost too much and my performance hasn't been very nicely steadily increasing. Why? Well, because in between good trades, I take a lot of low quality trades that do not have the daily time frame clear trending, that do not have clear areas of interest, and that are just potentially trading price action like this. So again, guys, I'm gonna say wait because I do not have a forecast right now. I don't know what's gonna happen with the news. I don't know where the market could potentially go next. I could, of course, go on the 40 time frame right now and tell you, well, all right, like we broke up, we're pulling back. I would expect a long trade, but really nothing something that I'm going to be looking for, so I'm not going to say it. All right, that is your USD. We have to wait. I am going to be very fast with GU because this is probably the choppiest pair of all time right now. Look at the monthly candle. At least on some other pairs, we're having like some sort of a move on the monthly. This one hasn't done anything. My overall bias is bullish, looking to target this high and then eventually this high right here, but nothing is happening. Dropping onto the weekly time frame, what the hell right there? So if you have the weekly like this, you don't want to be even dropping to the daily because look at the daily. So again, I don't even want to drop to the 40 time frame right now because even from the weekly, this one has been chopping since December. So again, why would I trade this? It makes absolutely no sense. But again, the past me is going to be like, okay, yeah, cool. I can work around the price action here on the lower time frames. And then it just gets stuck doing nothing. Losing trades, trying to like every single morning to, to of course, play with the Asian range. Took out the Asian high, let's go short to take a loss. Took out Asian high, let's go short to take a loss. Took out Asian high, okay, cool, you take a win. Right here, you also take a win. It is a good strategy, right? Playing just on the intraday and like being very systematic with this. But according to me, the true trading comes from actually understanding the hard time frames, where the market is going next, and actually knowing when to trade. And right now, it is definitely not a good time to be trading. So weekly is unclear, daily is unclear, 40 time frame, it is also unclear. Like on some of the pairs, I could have said something like, for example, EU bullish, DXY bearish. I cannot say anything right there. Pushed up, pushed down, trying to push up, failing to push down. No. So GU guys, absolute skip until Thursday. Because on Thursday, we have this, which is the interest rate decision for the pound. And then there are like summary and everything that is going on. So I truly hope this is going to make a move on the pound. So we finally exit this ugly consolidation because GU is in fact a pretty good pair. So that's it. The Aussie pairs, in fact, Aussie dollar could be very interesting going into the next month because we're having this overall bullish push. Didn't really cause a break of structure, but I do like the overall November and December, how they very nicely pushed up, creating this monthly imbalance. And right now the market is traveling towards it, and I'm not sure if it did tap it or not. I'm just going to be looking for confluences on the lower time frame for it potentially go higher. Now on the weekly time frame, you see that you do not have bullish signs yet. What we have is a bearish imbalance going towards that. Then you have a bearish imbalance also created this week. And again, I'm truly not sure whether we actually tapped this imbalance right there. I do believe we pinged it. Yeah, we did ping it, but again, not very clear. So I would like for it to come in once again to potentially take out this low right there as liquidity and then maybe to start pushing higher. This is what I truly want to see. Of course, what we could also do first is we could tap inside the weekly and then look to short it into the monthly. So again, on the Aussie, I do see potential trade ideas, although again, not very clear. Dropping onto the daily time frame, absolute chop. Since like last week, it's an absolute chop. We did have this daily imbalance right here. In fact, we have one right there that was engulfed, which pretty much kind of the market was right now struggling to respond from this one. What I would like to see in terms of the higher time frames is again either two things. First, to either flush towards this low, and then from there to start looking for daily and full hourly shifts going higher from that monthly imbalance, or for us to tap inside the weekly zone, and then for me to start having full hourly shifts to then drive the market into the monthly imbalance. So those are my two scenarios. Again, I'm not gonna go on the full hourly time frame because it's absolute mess. It is also cooking for something. So again, two scenarios that I would like to trade: this or tapping inside here and then looking for the shifts to potentially start going higher. But again, that truly depends a lot whether it's actually going to go higher. Of course, we have to be waiting for news to potentially support that idea. But right now, absolutely nothing. So we're getting into a very volatile week ahead of us, and the market is looking as choppy as ever, which is not ideal. So once again, patience. Because if you blow your account and if you lose all of your money in these conditions, then when the good conditions comes in, you're gonna be screwed psychologically, and you're also gonna be left with less capital. And of course, you're gonna be trying to recover drawdown instead of making money. So take this into account. All right, NZUSD is already within its monthly imbalance, and we can already start seeing a tad little bit of a rejection. So I would really like to see this monthly candle, which closes in 4 days, to not really engulf below this imbalance, because if I truly see a potential rejection, that would be really nice. The weekly time frame this week was pretty choppy, right? So nothing really happened. Also, something that I don't like is this weekly imbalance coming back in that could potentially act as a lot of resistance, where if the market decides to actually push higher, then dropping onto the daily time frame, structure is bearish. But again, the last bit of price action right there is not my favorite. So again, in order for me to start confirming bullishness, I would like to see the daily cleared bullish daily candles. I like to see this. I like to see this, right? Not this. Not these two miserable candles going higher, right? So weekly imbalance right there, daily time frame, absolutely nothing to extract from it. Then on the hourly time frame, it did look like we had a shift. So we had a hourly trend change that was very nicely supported by this imbalance right here. But again, you can see the market came in, it tried to react, failed. And right now, what is it doing? It's doing nothing. So it's not ready yet, right? It's not ready yet. So again, I cannot extract much right now from the hourly time frame because there's no imbalances, there is no clear structure. Like in terms of structure, we're still bullish. So maybe the market is coming in to take some liquidity somewhere. I don't know. But there are no clear signs about what could potentially happen next. The only thing I'm monitoring right now is for either, again, clear hourly pushes higher or daily time frame pushes higher, because again, we are sitting in a monthly time frame zone, which usually does not happen very often. So if it happens to happen, right, pay attention to it. So if I start seeing a daily, if I start seeing the hourly time frame shift going higher, I would essentially like to see this low to be protected. So I wouldn't like to see for the market to break below this low. So I want to see to make it like protected, because if it does break, then I would still like to see it wick and then reject. So again, I will be looking for bullish shifts within this area. And again, hopefully the USD news are going to help this pair start pushing higher, because it does look pretty good. And it's definitely on my radar going forward into February. So bullish bias on the NZUSD based on the monthly time frame. However, we do need to see some bullish signs, which we do not have yet. And we don't even have bearish signs because we're in a complete consolidation right now. So again, guys, time and patience. Let's have a look at gold. What is it doing? Like in terms of the monthly time frame, December was very big. So we are going to close January within the candle of December, which means that we have an inside bar, which means that next month is very, the likelihood of taking either the low or the high becomes very big. So which one are we going to take? We have to refer to potential order flow on the lower time frames, but then we drop on the weekly time frame. It is not looking good. It is not looking good. What I do like is that we do not have a lot of bearishness, and I see the wicks. I see buyers and buyers and buyers coming in, but they cannot push the market up. So are they waiting for the news this week? Most likely, yes. Then of course we drop to the daily time frame. Here we did have a little bit of a bearish shift, and as you know, last week I indicated this daily imbalance that we can potentially look to short from, and then of course that could potentially be a target. But you can even see the market struggles to go down. What that kind of tells me, if I just look at the logic, it potentially means that this market wants to potentially push up, right? But in order for gold to push up, DXY has to fall down, which is what we overall want to see. However, the DXY still has potentially that monthly imbalance to fulfill up there, and of course it might go without it. But first of all, we need to see those clear bearish signs to the downside. So right now, gold is a little bit stuck in limbo. The daily time frame is still looking like this. I am still kind of having this overall bearishness in mind, but again, I don't like it. Came in once, came in 2 times, came in 3 times, pushed lower, which is very nice, like a structure shift, push lower, lower high. Then we have a very shitty wick right there, took out the low, then it returned back. It's choppy, right? I'm just gonna say it, it's choppy, and I'm again gonna say that I don't have a clear bias. And I hate to say this because I would like to give you something potentially, but I also want to be honest because I don't want to force anything. I just don't see anything, and then that's fine. You do not have to have a bias every day or even every week. Sometimes, again, as we have this January conditions right now, it makes absolute no sense. I mean, you go to the weekly and you see this choppiness right there, so you automatically know that the daily time frame is not going to be clear. And if the daily time frame is not clear, then you're very likely gambling on the lower time frames, taking some intraday trades here and there. That is not very high probability according to me. So gold is still kind of having that little bit of a bearishness. We could potentially seek this low right here, but again, we have to wait for the news and we have to see what is going to happen. So sorry to say, but I don't have a bias on gold right now. We just gotta wait once again for clear candles to start printing, and then just simply the market is going to show us where it wants to go next. If there was one pair that I wished I traded this month, is gonna be USD JPY. Like, look at that beautiful monthly candle going from this very low price right there on the monthly, going all the way back up to be taking out the previous monthly high. So I do believe right now USD yen has taken a very big liquidity in the form of a monthly high. So I'm not sure how powerful it can continue going higher from here. However, what we do have is right now 2 weekly imbalances. One very recent right here, and of course the other one right there I wouldn't really count right now because I want to focus on the very recent ones. What is going to be a very good setup is if we actually tap in and then start trading higher towards potentially this high right now, because again, keep in mind we're taking out the previous monthly high, so there is going to be some kind of a rejection, which is very good because that rejection could potentially bring us towards that weekly zone. On the daily time frame, we don't have much. There are actually around 3 long opportunities this week on UJ, one on Monday, one on Tuesday, and I really regret taking Euro JPY on Tuesday instead of UJ because UJ hit TP. But then again, you can see it struggles to push higher. It doesn't push higher. Came in all the way back down to retest potentially this daily imbalance, trying to push up right now, and it does look like Friday wants to continue. So we could check the 40 time frame, but again, you can see the 40 time frame, it's very weak, it's very lethargic on this way up. We of course do have this very tiny little imbalance right there. But so if I actually give you a potential scenario on UJ, I do see potentially the market, maybe if news support this idea, for the market to continue from here going higher. If this imbalance fails and we actually start having either bearish ones or just choppy price action, I do believe we can come all the way down to the weekly and then from there start pushing higher. So those are my 2 scenarios on USD JPY, and actually, to be honest, I am forcing this folly idea right there, because if I saw on the weekly, I'm just gonna either wait for the weekly time frame or not trade it at all, because the daily time frame right now not very clear. But I do see that the market is rejecting a lot and it's trying to push up. And again, if that push up is offering me some sort of clues, which it actually does, right? The market is breaking higher, and right now we have this imbalance. I would not ignore this idea. So that is USD JPY looking more bullish than it looks bearish. But again, we have, once again, it's a USD pair, and trading the USD pairs this week is not a very good idea. But this one is also JPY, so it could go good. So let's see, USD JPY, I could definitely add it on the radar for next week. EJ also very nicely bullish monthly candle printing right here, potentially to attack the previous monthly high, which it already did. So right now, again, liquidity is taken. and we might initiate a little bit of rejection. Unlike USD yen, you can see here there is no weekly imbalance going higher. Again, remember in USD yen we had a beautiful imbalance right there to potentially go higher from. This one, lethargic. We had a very nice push down. We have a very corrective pullback. So I don't like it. Now, of course, on the daily time frame, as the market makes a weekly lower low, we start seeing the daily shift. Why? In order to potentially make a weekly lower high. So there were again one long right there, two longs right there, and here we start chopping a little bit. Why? Well, because again, we took out the previous monthly high and the market is getting a little bit choppy. Now here, this to me is the last resort on the daily for the market to go up. Retested on Thursday and Friday is giving us a good clue. Now, the red flag for me is that the weekly does not have an imbalance, but if UJ has, and if UJ actually goes higher, that is potentially going to bring all the JPYs together. In terms of the 40 time frame, it was absolutely choppy. The trade that I took was was here, somewhere right there long, but then it chopped me for 10 hours and I closed it at break even. That it would have hit stop loss. And right now we're starting to see some little bit of a push right there, but again, nothing clear. Structure is still bearish. It's push down, push up. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I just don't like it, and most likely I'm not going to trade it. But let's see. Let's see if we do have some sort of a pullback somewhere, and if we actually pop to the upside, creating a very nice imbalance and causing a trend change right there, only then I could look to entertain this long idea on EJ. If this doesn't happen, if we start pushing down, I just don't care what happens. Okay, so Euro Yen, very low on my radar. Again, looking for clear price action right here. GJ was very nice this week, and in fact, it actually provided the setup that I really wanted to see, but it developed around, I think, 9:30 my time, which is very late, and I've never traded at that time. But it would have hit either break even or TP, depending on how I did take it. So here we are with the monthly high being taken this week. So right now, going on to the weekly time frame, if I just delete all of this, we have a weekly imbalance being created. So again, you see GJ immediately becomes higher probability and a better pair than EJ, because EJ does not have that weekly imbalance, which means that it's not as strong. GJ has it. So GJ looks very, very, very good for potential longs. So again, we can bookmark it, of course, to be aware of that. Pulling back inside this weekly zone and a continuation higher will be great. If we drop to the daily time frame, so the trade that I wanted to take was from this daily imbalance, because again, right now, if you see, I apply imbalances a lot. I've been studying my ass off this January and starting to build up a plan together with it. And again, seeing also that a lot of times imbalance is actually more powerful than structure. But when structure aligns, it's very powerful. In this case, you can see here we had the trend change. Long, higher high, long, higher high, potential long from here. But right now we're getting a little bit choppy. Why? Look to the left. We're sweeping and we're taking out that. That is the yearly high also. That is a very, very, very big liquidity area right there. So on the daily time frame, it's struggling. It's struggling. So I would very much prefer for us to have a tap inside the weekly zone and then to potentially go up. This is a setup that I would absolutely prefer. Dropping onto the 40 time frame, similar to UJ, we don't really have a structure shift because it's very, very, very choppy, but we do have like this hourly potential area that we can be looking for something. So the same exact setup as on UJ. Tap inside here. Want to see if you can have a continuation. If this one breaks, either a short into the weekly or just wait for the weekly to tap and then look for continuations from here. Bullish bias for now. I really don't like biases, right? Because I say bullish, but then Monday opens and I'm bearish. So again, learn to flow with the markets and stop looking at those biases and stop saying the market will go up from here. The market is bullish. It is going to take out the high. It is going to do this. You never know what is going to happen. You never know. The true skill and true profitability comes from actually letting go of the need to be knowing where the market is going to go and just listening to where it wants to go. Just looking at the candles and they're pretty much going to show you. And you are in the moment and you're going to see where the market wants to go. It's going to give you the setup and then you're going to execute. But of course, we first do our homework by, of course, forecasting and doing stuff like this. So there is my forecast for GJ, overall bullish bias. But again, as I keep saying, things could change very quickly with all the news we have next week. All right, let's have a look at the indices starting from SPX, the S&P 500 index. Massive, well, not massive, but a very nice monthly candle going higher, piercing through the all-time highs. Also about to be creating another monthly imbalance that pretty much suggests bullish order flow. But again, that could change very quickly. Dropping onto the weekly time frame, we have also a beautiful weekly imbalance. And again, this is just clear, nice order flow. We had a weekly imbalance here. The market continues from it, creating another weekly imbalance. So that just shows me that this is the market that I want to see. Unfortunately, couldn't spot a lot of great trades on it. Like when it starts trending very massively like this, and like the daily time frame just keeps making highs and highs and highs and highs, the forward time frame sometimes offers something, but very hard to catch. Like on the daily time frame right now, you can see as we pushed up, we started to chop around. And also this weekly imbalance perfectly resonates with this daily one right here. So pretty much since Monday, I have been waiting for this daily zone to tap, but the market just kept running away. And I did paper trade. I didn't take a live trades on this one, but I did paper trade a couple of longs. One long from here. No, one long from right there. And no, it was just one, in fact. Probably I did trade some other indices. Yeah, I tried to trade the German, but you can see it's not clear right now. It's getting slightly bit choppier at the top. What happened also at the end of the week is we actually swept that high. We swept Wednesday's high and we rejected. So what I would essentially want to see is, without dropping onto the forward time frame, is, again, my analysis is getting very simple and I love it. I just want to see this pullback that is within that imbalance that overlaps with the daily one as well. And that is just going to give me that pullback for the market to potentially go higher from. And then I'm going to have very good high to potentially target. Because right now, as it keeps making all-time highs, as it keeps making highs, even if you take a long trade, you don't have a clear target. If you take a long trade from here at the high, you don't have a clear target. And then the market pulls back. But then if you buy it low, if you wait for the higher low, then you have a clear target right there. And then, of course, from here all the way up to there, you can take longs. And like that is on the daily. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days to be taking longs towards this area. While as the market is at a higher high, you can see it always tends to consolidate, pull back, give you a potential long opportunity, and then you have a clear target. So this is essentially what I'm looking for right now. Pull back to actually make a hard high, and then I'm going to trade towards that hard high, which means, again, guys, patience. Patience is a key word in this analysis. So again, we have to wait for next week, which is full of news. Nasdaq also goes full power. Very nice monthly candle formation right there. We do have a slight little bit of an imbalance, which is very good, piercing through the all-time highs. Weekly time frame also very good. I mean, this is just textbook development. We're having similar to the SPX. We're having a weekly imbalance that formed from a previous weekly imbalance. Absolutely very nice. Dropping onto the daily time frame, you can see here on the daily, it's starting to chop around. Like it reached the high. Here it was, yeah, this is the other trade that I paper traded. We had this daily imbalance, and then unlike SPX, which just continued, Nasdaq just really pinked inside this weekly daily imbalance, took out that previous daily low. Monday's low was taken out on Tuesday, and then it rushed higher. So this is the only trade that is worth taking this week. And right now it looks like we want to roll down, which is very, very, very good. So again, I mean, if you really want to day trade this one right now, you could be looking for potential shorts. It's not clear though. I wouldn't look for potential shorts because I want to see clear, nice quality price action. It's not very nice. Has some gaps right there, pulls back right now. It looks like it wants to go down. But essentially, once again, if you just want to hear my top-down analysis, this is where I want to see the market come in within this weekly imbalance to set up this high, to pull back right there, and then to potentially target this high. Of course, things could change. Maybe next week we print a very massive big weekly candle that pretty much engulfed this imbalance. Then, of course, yeah, things change. But for now, this is my bias. Bullish bias, both SPX and Nasdaq looking for that same thing, that weekly imbalance to tap, which is going to give us that higher low formation to potentially then target a new higher high. DAX, aka German 40. It was used to be German 30, but right now it looks like it's German 40. And this is on my broker, so I'm trading German 40. Very nice monthly candle, about to be creating a monthly imbalance, which is very good. That suggests the index is overall strong. Again, another thing that I do not like in terms of the monthly is similar to what I said previously on the daily time frame, for example, on the other indices, is that it's at a higher high. And it's also making all-time highs, I believe. Yeah. So it's not good. It's always good to have a pullback and then target a new higher high. But when you are at the higher highs, usually it gets tricky. But right now, the momentum is pretty nice. This week, we actually had some bullishness, and now we have a potential target here because, again, this is the weekly time frame, and the weekly time frame still had like this imbalance right there. It still had this imbalance right there, and if you actually look carefully, it never broke anything. It was just chopping around right there. This week took out that previous weekly low because we had an inside bar. So again, this week, inside bar this week, taking out the liquidity, rejecting, and then this week was actually clear for longs. And I do believe I attempted a couple of longs, but again, it wasn't very clear. When the daily just starts popping like this, it's usually not very good. I was looking for this as well, like again, structure shifts, which is very, very, very good. I was looking to take a long from here, but Friday just ran away. So I do think we're right now very, very, very close to this high right here. So we could look to definitely try our best to take a long trade. The very recent long I see is either from this hourly zone. If this 4 hourly zone, we have a daily zone, right? Then of course towards the daily, structure on the 4 hourly is gonna shift. But this is where I was focusing a lot on structure, and I'm like, okay, bullish on the 4 hourly. Well, 4 hourly shifts, and then all of a sudden the 4 hourly goes higher, and I was like, why? Well, and then of course the explanation was that the daily is bullish and that the daily wanted to pull back. But right now, adding potential imbalance areas like this, it shows me where it actually wants to pull back, so then I can start expecting that reversal from there. So German 40 looks very good for next week. 2 setups. Pull back into the 40 time frame. First target is going to be the high. Second target is going to be the all-time highs. If this is engulfed, even with a bearish imbalance, I'm going to be looking to take it into the daily, shift from there, and then of course target the daily high, which is going to be pretty much that high. That is DAX. Looks very good. Definitely on my radar for next week. Let's see. Let's have a look at US 30. Smaller monthly candle right there, but of course going to form that monthly imbalance. That suggests, of course, a lot of strength. Weekly time frame, not pushing clearly. You can see it does not have a weekly imbalance, which is why I'm pretty much avoiding this index because I don't want to trade 3. And for me, I do believe it's much better to trade, for me, right, to trade NASDAQ or SPX and even DAX. US 30, I haven't been having a good time with US 30 a lot. So weekly time frame, of course, bullish. Then on the daily time frame, there was a potential long setup right there. It took 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th day, we actually fulfilled it. So that was a pretty good long. Right now, this long is over, and we don't have anything new. So again, like this is where the market is coming from right now. Retesting also, like you can see, it also kind of resonates with the break and retest structure. But in the past, I would be looking like for this area to be retested. Right now, again, I look for the imbalance areas and I look for the exact same setups down there. Hourly time frame, absolute chop. Like again, how would you trade this? Again, I would potentially use an hourly time frame. And like for example, here the market punched through right here. It made an hourly push up with a break of structure with an imbalance. So this to me is a very good long setup that I would take, targeting the highs right there. And then the market pushed another time. Then again, creating this zone right there, then again creating this imbalance. So again, that could be potentially another long. So I do actually see 2 longs right here. Could have been nice. I probably should sometimes pay a bit more attention because, for example, the rest of the indices, they didn't provide a setup like this, but actually US 30 did provide it. So in this case, definitely I could have taken a win. And I'm actually going to journal this hourly setup right here because that is the exact same setup I took on EU. And again, the more I actually look at those things, the more I transfer into a hard time frame trader, but it's actually way better. So right now, again, similar to the rest, we do have this very, very, very little hourly time frame zone right here that we could potentially look to trade. But as we are making hard highs on every single time frame, it gets lower probability. So eventually, I would like to see at least like a daily time frame pullback like this. This was a daily time frame pullback and then having a clear daily target. The more time frames you drop lower, so right now, like you have a 4 hourly zone and then you have a 4 hourly target right there, very small. The range is very small. So wait for a clear daily pullback because the other indices, they are going to be potentially making a bigger pullback. So hopefully, again, US 30 also goes with them and then potentially going higher. So that is US 30. All right, fanatics, let's wrap it up. Next week, a lot of news. Again, Wednesday, we have FOMC, we have the federal funds rate. On Wednesday, we also have another news. Then on Thursday, we have Bank of England. Then on Friday, we have NFP. So pretty much this is a pretty non-tradable week in terms of the USDs. So what you could focus on potentially is maybe some crosses, or maybe of course look to trade, but be very, very, very mindful about when the news are being released, and of course wait for them to be released, because this week we pretty much have the absolute, if there are like any important news, that's going to be NFP, and that is going to be the interest rate for the US and like the FOMC. So don't trade this. Wait, and you can see the market is cooking for something. So USD pairs, DXY is cooking, Euro USD is cooking, GBP is absolutely horrendous. So I would not touch this again all the way until Thursday, in which we have the GBP news. Then we have the Aussie and the NZD. I would, again, on the Aussie, you could definitely trade the Aussie because we have CPI for the Aussie on Wednesday, and then we also have some news on Tuesday on the Aussie. Depending on how it sets up, if it first taps inside this weekly zone, short. But if it first taps inside the monthly zone, could be looking for long alignments. But again, it's a USD pair, so low probability. NZUSD, it's already into that monthly imbalance, but it's failing to push higher. So if I start seeing clear hourly and daily signs going higher, then I would also want to trade it long. Gold is unclear. It's pretty much a USD instrument. Not really, but it's linked to the dollar. So wait for all the news. USD yen, very nice longs coming in from a weekly, having actually a weekly zone right there. So again, we have two situations right here, either hourly zone to be respected or to come down all the way to the weekly. We of course have to see what is going to happen. EJ, not very good. GJ is actually on my long radar because we're coming in inside the daily zone that the market is currently responding from. However, it also formed a weekly zone. So is the market going to push off from a hourly zone similar to UJ, or is it going to come all the way down to the weekly? We have to see. I would much prefer the weekly because I have been telling you, then you have a very much wider area to work with. It goes from here all the way to here. You have a lot of pips to catch this way. So hoping for a bigger pullback. Also JPY and NZD JPY I did not include because they're very choppy. All the indices are bullish. SPX and Nasdaq are my favorite. They both have weekly imbalances to potentially trade from. German 40 is already reacting from a weekly imbalance towards the weekly high. So that one is a very, very, very good setup, provided we actually get some sort of a setup. So first, we either get a hourly setup on a Monday or Tuesday. If it fails, then of course we're going to get a daily setup. That is going to be much better because we're going to have a much bigger target to have. So this one is definitely also highlighting it right there. And US 30 provided a beautiful long trade on Thursday, so make sure to journal it, but not looking to trade it because it does not have a weekly zone here. While Nasdaq and SPX, they do have a weekly zone that suggests they are stronger. So for next week, I'm probably going to focus on some JPYs. I'm probably going to focus on some indices, but again, Forex, not very interested because we have all those news that are come out. And then after this week, I'm actually going to be traveling this week. When I get back home, starting from February again, the second week of February, that is when it's action time. That is when I truly think the market is going to start moving. January is over. I hope you're prepared. So it's time for action. Everyone, wishing you an incredible weekend, wishing you a lovely week ahead. Protect your capital and talk to you on Wednesday.